How far would you go to keep your family safe, even in paradise? Our vacation started with laughter, but one wrong step put everything at risk. By the time you hit 50, you think you've seen it all. Flights delayed, family dramas at Thanksgiving, the usual migraines of adulthood. So when Linda insisted we finally disconnect from the noise, rent a cabin somewhere wild and drag the kids, plus old Hank, our golden retriever, into the heart of the Amazon, I pretended to be excited. That's marriage. That's life. We landed in Brazil on a Monday, the kind of thick, wet heat that makes your t-shirt feel like a burden. The guide, Marcos, smiled with too many teeth, tossing our bags in the Jeep like we were luggage ourselves. Sam and Rachel, my teenagers, glued to their phones even as we crossed a rickety bridge over a river so green it looked fake. Linda, always the optimist, filmed it all on her ancient camcorder. Family memories, she chirped. I took the back seat with Hank, our aging retriever, who was already panting, tongue out, brown eyes full of trust. I scratched behind his ears. You and me, buddy. Vacation warriors. His tail thumped, splashing mud up my khakis. Marcos cackled. No fear in the jungle, amigo. Only respect. We reached the cabin at sunset, sweat-soaked and slightly lost. Jungle noises filled the air, chirps, croaks, and somewhere, the slow grinding were of something massive moving through underbrush. I'd grown up in a city where the only wild animal was the neighbor's feral cat. This was different. Primal. That night, Linda led us in a family gratitude circle. We went around naming something good from the day. Sam, not dead yet. Rachel, no Wi-Fi, so Dad can't check emails. Even Hank gave a sleepy woof when his turn came. It was silly, but warm, a bubble of safety in a wild world. But right after, the first injustice. As I tucked Rachel into her hammock, the cabin, true to the website, was rustic. She whispered, "Dad, is it true people go missing here?" I laughed, brushed it off, and left her with the travel flashlight. When I closed the door, I heard Linda and Sam fighting quietly in the kitchen. Something about trust, about why Sam had wanted to stay home. I was tired. I let it go. You always tell yourself it'll be better in the morning. That night, the air was thick, every shadow alive. As I tried to sleep, I heard Linda crying softly in the next room. Old wounds, old fights, replaying in paradise. I felt Hank curl up by my side, his body a barrier against whatever waited in the dark. But the rustling outside was getting closer. To this day, I still wonder, if I'd paid more attention to the fear in Rachel's eyes, the tension in Linda's voice, the twitch in Hank's nose, could I have stopped what came next? What do you do when the thing you fear most isn't what's lurking in the jungle, but what's been hiding in your own family all along? Sleep in the jungle is a fragile thing. That night, it was smashed to pieces by a scream, high, shrill, real. Rachel's. I shot up, heart hammering, as Hank bounded out ahead of me, barking, crashing into the flimsy door. Outside, the world was chaos. The moonlight scattered across the yard, lighting up overturned chairs, Sam clutching his phone, white-faced, and Rachel, her hammock empty, the flashlight rolling in the dirt. She was 10 feet away, frozen, eyes locked on the darkness. And then I heard it, a low, heavy rustle, a sound so big it made your skin crawl. Hank lunged. I followed. The underbrush parted, and I saw it, thick as my thigh, glinting green and gold in the pale light. An anaconda, coiled, its head already lifting toward my daughter. I did what any father would do. I threw myself between them, yelling, arms wide. Foolish. The snake surged forward, impossibly fast, and wrapped itself around my legs. Panic and pain shot through me. I tried to pry it off, but its scales felt like living steel. Sam shouted, "Dad!" Linda was behind him, clutching a frying pan. But it was Hank, brave, stupid, wonderful Hank, who really moved. He dove at the snake, teeth bared, barking louder than I'd ever heard. He sank his jaws right into the thing's back. The snake hissed, furious, its grip tightening around my legs. I thought, absurdly, of my old boss back in Cleveland, how he'd squeeze people till they gave in. I almost laughed, even as I felt my breath going shallow. Rachel was crying now, Linda yelling at Sam to do something, but it all blurred together. That's when Sam did something I never expected. He leaped in, swinging a stick, beating at the snake's head with a desperation I'd never seen in my gentle boy. The anaconda recoiled, loosened just enough. Hank, emboldened, tore again at its side. Blood splattered, black in the moonlight. With a final surge, the snake released me and slithered off into the night, leaving a torn patch of grass and a family forever changed. I crumpled to the ground, lungs burning, vision tunneling. Rachel threw herself into my arms. Hank collapsed beside us, tail thumping weakly. Linda sobbed, part relief, part terror. For a moment, the only sound was the jungle breathing around us. I looked at my family, at the dog who'd nearly died for us, and wondered, what does it take to hold a family together in the wild? And what else was waiting for us, just out of sight? How do you forgive the ones you love when fear turns them into strangers? After that night, the jungle wasn't our only enemy. Suspicion began to grow inside our family. After the anaconda vanished, leaving only chaos and claw marks, our vacation paradise turned into a pressure cooker. Sam nursed a swollen wrist, Rachel refused to sleep, and Linda, usually the rock, walked around like a ghost, silent and pale. I tried to be the anchor. We're safe now. It's over. But I could hear my own voice trembling, the lie too heavy for even the thick Amazon air. The guides came at dawn, wild-eyed. Marcos gaped at the mess, then at my bruised legs. You fought an anaconda? The disbelief in his voice was like a slap. One more way I failed to protect my family. I shrugged it off, the American who didn't know when to run. Linda laughed bitterly. Well, at least now you'll have something to brag about at work, right? The sarcasm stung. For years, Linda and I had handled stress with dark humor, but today it landed wrong. Hank limped over to me, pressing his battered head into my palm. His loyalty cut deeper than any words. I scratched his ears, staring at my wife. We should go home. I meant it, but she flinched, as if home was a dirty word. Breakfast was silent, except for jungle birds mocking us with their endless chatter. Sam scrolled his phone obsessively, even though there was no signal. Rachel hid behind a book she wasn't reading. Linda cleaned the already spotless kitchen. I watched them all, realizing the anaconda hadn't just wrapped itself around me last night, it had sunk its teeth into all of us. By afternoon, the rain started. The kind that drowns your thoughts, turns dirt paths into rivers. The guide said we should stay inside, the roads would be impassable. Sam exploded. We can't just wait here for another snake to show up. Linda snapped back. Do you have a better plan? They fought. Rachel began to cry. Hank whimpered, and I felt something in me crack. I grabbed the deck of cards, dumped it on the table. Family poker night, winner gets to choose our next vacation. A weak attempt at normal, but it worked. Slowly, hands reached for the cards. Even Rachel, sniffling, joined in. For a moment, the storm outside was background music. But halfway through the game, Linda put her cards down. Why didn't you wake me up last night? Why did you go out there alone? She stared at me, wounded. I wanted to say, because I'm your husband, because I love you, because I thought I was strong enough. But all I managed was, I was scared too. Sam threw his cards down. We're all scared. Maybe we should talk about it. The room grew heavy. It wasn't just the anaconda. There were old wounds here, resentments, secrets, little betrayals. Linda's eyes shimmered with old pain. I'm tired of pretending we're okay. She was talking to me, but her gaze flicked to Sam, to Rachel. I've been tired for years. No one moved. The storm hammered the roof. I felt a surge of anger, at myself, at the jungle, at the world for turning a family vacation into a therapy session. But I swallowed it. Hank's head rested on my knee, warm and grounding. Rachel whispered, I just want us to go home. I looked at my family, my wounded, beautiful, broken family, and saw, for the first time in years, the fear behind every sharp word and rolling eye. The jungle hadn't changed us. It had only stripped away our walls. But what would happen now, with all our secrets out in the open? When trust is broken in the wild, who do you turn to? The ones who hurt you, or the ones who saved you? The rain didn't stop for 2 days. We ran low on food, low on patience, high on memories no one wanted. Linda drifted from room to room, restless, her eyes red from crying. Sam sat by the window, sketching monsters that looked suspiciously like snakes. Rachel clung to Hank, refusing to leave his side. Even Marcos, our guide, started to look rattled. On the 3rd day, the sun finally pierced the clouds. A steamy, dizzying brightness flooded the jungle. The guides radioed in, roads were clear, rescue jeeps on the way. The promise of escape should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like defeat. We'd survived, sure, but what would we bring back home with us? Bruises, nightmares, old arguments, and a dog with battle scars. Packing was tense. Linda tossed clothes into bags, barely looking at me. We'll talk when we're home, she muttered. Sam snapped, why wait? We're already here. Rachel started crying again, clutching Hank. I felt like a stranger in my own family. On the drive back, Marcos tried to make small talk. You see anaconda, you see yourself, eh? Face your fear, come out stronger. I managed a smile. If only it were that easy. At the airport, waiting for our flight, Linda finally broke. I can't do this anymore. Not the fighting, not the pretending. She looked at me, then at the kids. I almost lost you. All of you. And I realized, I don't even know who we are anymore. I felt something snap inside, but not in the way I expected. Not anger, just exhaustion. Maybe it's time we stop running. From each other, from ourselves. Rachel leaned in, voice shaking. I thought Dad was going to die. And all I could think was, I never told him I was scared. Or that I miss how we used to be. Sam looked away, blinking hard. The four of us sat in the sticky airport heat, silent. I reached over, put my hand on Linda's. For the first time in years, she didn't pull away. Hank rested his head on all our feet, closing the circle. We'd survived the jungle. But our real battle, our family, was just beginning. But what none of us knew was that our return home would reveal secrets even the jungle couldn't hide. Can a family survive the truth if it's finally spoken out loud? Back home, old secrets claw their way into the open, and nothing will ever be the same. We landed in Cleveland looking like survivors of a shipwreck. Linda's hair wild and knotted, Sam limping, Rachel pale and silent, Hank wearing a rough patch of shaved fur over his stitches like a medal of honor. Customs eyed us but didn't ask. What could we say? Family vacation. Bitten by the wild. At home, everything felt wrong. The air was thin and sharp, the walls too white. The house, our safe place, suddenly looked like a showroom for lives we no longer lived. Linda went straight to the laundry, throwing clothes in the washer as if scrubbing off the jungle. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the mail pile, bills, junk, a faded postcard from my mother I never bothered to answer. Sam disappeared to his room, Rachel curled up with Hank on the old couch. The tension followed us, ghostly, electric. 2 nights in, the fuse blew, Sam at dinner, snapping his fork down. So what, we just pretend none of it happened? That you and Dad don't fight? That Rachel never cries? That I'm not angry all the time? Linda flinched. Sam, please. No, I'm done pretending. His voice broke, raw. I almost watched Dad die. And you, both of you, you just keep acting like the real danger is each other. Silence. Rachel's fork trembled in her hand. I felt every word as a punch to the gut. Linda, eyes shining, I'm scared too. I've been scared for years. That we'd fall apart. That we already have. That's when Rachel, always the quiet one, found her voice. We never talk about Dad losing his job. Or how Mom started working nights. Or how I had to switch schools and lost my friends. Or how Hank's the only one who ever seems happy anymore. The truth landed like thunder. I tried to swallow the shame, of pride, of secrets, of thinking I could keep everyone safe by pretending nothing was wrong. My turn. You're right. I messed up. I lost the job and I lied. I said it was a layoff, but it was my fault. I was too proud to tell you. I thought if I just kept smiling, maybe you'd all be okay. Linda looked at me, hurt but softer. I was angry you didn't trust me. I took extra shifts instead of coming home. I blamed you instead of saying I was scared, too. We all stared at each other. The room felt empty and full at once. For the first time, we weren't performing, we were just 4 people, plus a dog, raw and messy, but real. Hank whined, thumped his tail, and somehow that was the permission we needed. Sam started laughing, a wild, half-sobbing laugh. We survived an anaconda and we can't even get through dinner. Rachel joined in, tears streaming. Linda reached across the table, took my hand. I squeezed back, not as a husband trying to be strong, but as a partner finally letting go. We stayed like that a long time. No more masks. No more everything's fine. Just truth. That night, after the kids went to bed, Linda and I sat in the dark living room, Hank snoring between us. "Are we going to be okay?" she whispered. "I don't know," I said. "But at least now we're together." The jungle had nearly broken us. But maybe, just maybe, it had stripped away enough to let us start over.
A metal door slams. In the stillness, a trembling dog mother is pulled away by a rough hand. Her 2 pups freeze, their eyes locked on hers. Somewhere, hope flickers, just as a new voice cuts through the silence. What happens next? No one in the shelter will forget. The scream of metal on metal rips through the morning, louder than the barking, louder than the voices. The shelter's main corridor is raw. Every sound bounces hard off concrete and steel. A mother dog, ribs showing beneath her brown fur, is dragged out of her cage, a rope cinched tight around her neck. She stumbles once, but the hand holding her leash doesn't stop. No one in the room looks her in the eye. 2 puppies, still clumsy on their feet, press their faces to the wire. They don't bark, they don't move. Their eyes follow her, locked, unblinking, a silent plea she can't answer. Daisy. That's the name scrawled in fading marker above the cage. To the staff, she's just another intake number. To her pups, she's the only thing in the world that means safety. Kyle, the volunteer, keeps his face blank. He pulls Daisy forward, step by step, down the hallway that smells of bleach, fear, and old urine. The floor is cold, scattered with old newspapers and the muddy prints of dogs long gone. Someone left the back door open a crack. Wind creeps in, mixing with the stale air. Megan stands by the supply closet, watching. Her shift started an hour ago, and already her chest is tight. She tells herself she's used to this. She's not. The order sheet is clipped to the wall, under a sign that says, "No adoptions after 10. Daisy's number is circled in red. No notes, no last-minute calls, just procedure. Daisy doesn't fight the leash. Her body moves because it has to, but her head is turned, her eyes wide and wet, fixed on the 2 shapes behind the wire. Millie, the small one, presses her nose so hard against the gate her whiskers bend. Scout, the boy, sits frozen, tail curled tight around his legs. There is no sound except the leash scraping the floor. That's when the next door opens. The room beyond is colder, clinical, the kind of cold that sits inside your chest. Lisa, the tech, is setting out needles and bottles, her back turned. She doesn't look up. Kyle hesitates at the threshold. For a second, the leash slackens. Daisy glances over her shoulder, and in that split second, everything in her body says, "Don't let go. Not now. Not like this." But rules are rules. Megan's voice is steady when she says, "She's up." She doesn't look at the dog, only the paper in her hand. Lisa nods once, silent. Time doesn't move. Daisy stands in the center of the room, the leash draped over her back. Her chest heaves, but she makes no sound. In her eyes is the question no one in the shelter dares answer. How far can love go when everything else runs out? Footsteps slap the hallway, sharp, unexpected. A new voice, urgent, male, breaks the frozen air. "Wait!" he calls, louder than anyone should in a place like this. The whole room flinches. Kyle's grip loosens. Megan's hand drops from the form. Lisa's syringe hangs suspended in midair. The man in the doorway is out of breath, hair a mess, a file clutched to his chest. He isn't staff. He isn't supposed to be here. But his eyes meet Daisy's, and in that instant everything changes. In that moment nothing is certain, except the weight of what's at stake, pressed into the silence like a wound. Nobody moves. Not right away. The man in the doorway, the one who yelled, has everyone's attention now, and not just because he's out of place. His presence cuts straight through the routine like a knife. He's breathing hard, eyes darting between Daisy, the two pups, and the staff. In his hands a folder, creased, bent, papers slipping out the side. But it's his face that sets the tone. Serious, urgent, a little desperate. Kyle is the first to speak, his voice flat. "You're not allowed back here, sir." The man doesn't answer. He's staring at Daisy, and she, impossibly, is staring back. Her whole body vibrates with tension. The leash hangs loose from her neck, but she doesn't try to run. It's as if she knows everything hinges on this next moment. Megan steps forward, clipboard hugged to her chest. "Can I help you?" Her tone is professional, but even she can't hide the edge in her voice. "My name's Ben." He swallows, steadying his voice. I called yesterday about the brown female and her litter. No one called me back." Lisa frowns, glancing at Megan. "All adoption requests go through intake. You need an appointment. We're full up." Ben shakes his head, papers rattling in his hands. "You don't understand. I have a placement lined up. I spoke to someone on Friday. They said there was a chance. Please just give me 5 minutes. Let me see her. The pups too." He's trying to keep his voice down, but the desperation leaks out. The staff exchange glances. Procedure is clear, but sometimes things get messy. Megan's grip on the clipboard tightens. "Sir, the mother is scheduled." "Scheduled for what?" Ben's words cut in, sharper than intended. A silence falls. Everyone knows what the schedule means. Daisy doesn't. Or maybe she does. Something in the way she stands, tense but still, like a wire stretched to the breaking point. Kyle steps back, his hand falling away from the leash. "Let him talk," he says, softer now. Lisa sighs and sets down the syringe. Ben kneels. He isn't worried about the cold floor or the dirt. He sets the folder down and opens his hand, palm up, low to the ground. Daisy's eyes flick to him, uncertain, but there's something in his voice she recognizes, a kind of promise, small but real. "Hey, girl," Ben says quietly. "It's okay. You're not alone." Daisy inches forward. Her body is a bundle of nerves, but her nose works the air. Ben doesn't move, doesn't push. He lets her come to him. Behind her, Millie whimpers, and Scout presses tighter to the gate. Megan's eyes flick to the puppies, then back to the mother. Lisa breaks the silence. "So you really have a placement? Where?" Ben doesn't look away from Daisy. "Friends upstate, 10 acres, fenced. They've taken dogs before. I've got references. Photos if you want them." He's fumbling for his phone, hands shaking, when Daisy's nose bumps his palm. For a second, everyone just breathes. Megan checks the list again. Daisy's number, circled red ink, burns through the page. The rules say no, but Megan's gut says something else. "We can't hold her forever," Lisa warns. Ben nods. "I know. But she's a good mom. Look at her, she's trying." Daisy leans into Ben's hand. The leash slips free, trailing on the floor. That's when the first real conflict appears, not in the paperwork, but in the room. Megan is torn. She wants to move on, close out the case, finish her shift. But she looks at Daisy, the way the dog shakes but refuses to pull away, and she hesitates. "We'll need proof," Megan says, her voice quieter. "Real proof. We can't just let her go." Ben nods again, more confident now. "Give me an hour, I'll bring them here, I'll show you everything." The clock on the wall ticks loud in the silence. Lisa glances at the puppies, still pressed together, wide-eyed. "What about the pups?" "They stay with her," Ben says, almost pleading. "She can't leave them." Kyle clears his throat. "If you can get proof and the director signs off, maybe. But you've got 1 hour. That's it." It's not protocol. It's not clean. But the room has shifted. Megan scribbles on the clipboard, then hands Ben a slip. Take this to the front desk. They'll buzz you in when you get back. Don't be late. Ben gathers his things, hands trembling, but his eyes bright now, hopeful, almost shocked at how close it all came to ending. He looks at Daisy, and for the briefest moment a connection passes between them, one made in fear, but held together by the barest thread of hope. Daisy stands perfectly still, watching Ben go, the leash dragging behind her. For a moment the entire shelter holds its breath. As Ben slips out, Megan turns back to the staff. "Watch her," she says. "No one touches the pups. Not until we know." Lisa nods, already moving to check on the puppies, her face softer than before. Outside, the sound of traffic and distant sirens returns, but inside the shelter something fundamental has shifted. The rules haven't changed, but for Daisy and her pups, the future is suddenly, inexplicably, in motion. And in the quiet, Daisy's eyes never leave the door. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to leave your like. The shelter's clock lurches forward, minute by minute, but inside Daisy's kennel, time drags. Her body is still tense, pressed close to Millie and Scout. Every noise, keys jangling, voices down the corridor, makes her flinch. She's learned not to expect kindness here. She watches the hallway, waiting for the man with the calm voice to come back. In the staff break room, Megan leans against the counter, staring at the coffee in her hand. Her phone buzzes, another intake alert, another abandoned case out by the highway. She doesn't answer. Lisa stands in the doorway, arms crossed. "You think he'll come back?" Lisa asks, not quite making eye contact. Megan sighs. "I don't know. People say a lot of things. Not many follow through." Kyle, wiping his hands on his jeans, chimes in from the sink. "You saw the way he looked at her. Guy seemed legit." "Maybe," Megan mutters, but her doubt hangs heavy in the air. She's been here long enough to know hope is unreliable. Too many stories start with good intentions and end with empty cages. Daisy and her pups aren't the first to be caught in the middle, just the latest. Meanwhile, Ben is already halfway across town, phone pressed to his ear as he speeds down Main Street. "Carrie, it's Ben. I need you to meet me at the shelter, now. Bring the adoption paperwork and the pictures. Tell Mark to print out the property info, please, just trust me." Carrie's voice is breathless on the line. "What's going on?" He doesn't have time to explain. "Just get there. I'll tell you everything when I see you." Back at the shelter, the director, a lean man named Mr. Carlson, walks in. He checks the whiteboard, then glances at the staff, eyebrows raised. "What's the hold-up with 5142? Megan sets her cup down. "We have a possible adopter. He's getting proof." Carlson sighs, clearly unimpressed. "If he's not back by 10, we move on. We're over capacity. We don't have time for maybes." Lisa fidgets with her keys. "He seemed serious, sir." Carlson's tone is final. "Serious doesn't pay for food. Protocol stands." Down the corridor, Daisy noses her pups closer. Scout's little body trembles, so she wraps herself around him, her heartbeat the only comfort. Millie's eyes are open, wide and alert. Daisy licks her ear, soft and slow. It's the only thing she can do. Kyle walks by, pausing to look in. He crouches by the gate, speaking softly. "Hang in there, girl. Just a little longer." Daisy doesn't move, but her gaze is fixed, steady, waiting for a face she's only just begun to trust. 10 minutes pass, then 20. The tension builds. Megan checks the clock. Lisa paces. Even Mr. Carlson hangs by the office window, arms folded, watching the parking lot. Outside, Ben parks haphazardly and jumps out, paperwork clutched tight. Carrie and Mark pile out of a battered pickup, arms full of folders and photos. Carrie shoves a stack of papers into Ben's hands. "You're scaring me. What's going on?" He shakes his head, urgency burning in his eyes. "We're out of time. The shelter's at capacity. If we don't get this right now, they'll put her down," Mark swears under his breath. "Let's go." They rush to the front desk, pushing past a line of new arrivals and volunteers. The receptionist eyes them warily. "You can't go back there without a badge." Ben flashes the slip Megan gave him. I have approval. Please just call Megan. Tell her Ben's here. The receptionist relents, picking up the phone. In the back, Megan's phone rings. She answers, listens, and her face changes. She heads out to the lobby, Lisa close behind. Mr. Carlson trails them, expression unreadable. The lobby is chaos, barking, complaints, a delivery man dropping off food. Ben and his friends stand out tense, clutching paperwork like shields. Megan scans the documents, her eyes moving fast, property records, vet references, adoption forms already half filled. She looks up at Carrie. You're the placement. Carrie nods. My family's ready. Fenced yard, quiet road, no other dogs. We've done this before. Mark adds, and we can take the pups too. We have space. Mr. Carlson interrupts. I want to speak to your vet. Now. Carrie dials, puts the phone on speaker. A woman answers, warm and confident. She confirms everything, the farm, the past rescues, the commitment. Megan feels the weight shift again. Carlson isn't convinced. Even if this all checks out, we need approval from county control, liability. There's forms. Ben stands his ground. You have an hour. You said so. Carlson narrows his eyes. 1 hour. I want to see every paper. Back in the kennel, Daisy senses movement. Footsteps, voices, some sharp, some soft. She lifts her head, ears pricked as Kyle stops outside her gate. They're back, he whispers, as if she understands. Daisy's tail gives a single, hesitant thump. Megan and Lisa work quickly, scanning every page. Phone calls fly between the front desk, the vet, county officials, paper jams, a printer malfunction. Every small thing adds stress. The director paces, checking his watch. 30 minutes. Lisa mutters, this is crazy. If they're real, let her go. Megan nods, but her face is pale. In the lobby, Ben stands by the window, staring at the parking lot. Mark hands him a coffee. You think they'll do it? Ben shrugs, jaw clenched. I have to. Carrie squeezes his arm. She'll make it. She has to. As the clock ticks down, the shelter's tension grows heavy. Daisy's world has shrunk to the four walls of her kennel, the warmth of her pups, the hope in every new footstep. On the other side of the gate, everything is paperwork, voices, and the sense that any moment it could all collapse. Finally, the office phone rings. Megan answers, listening to a voice on the other end, her eyes fixed on Daisy's cage through the window. She hangs up and steps into the corridor. It's happening, she says quietly to Lisa. If everything's real, she's leaving with her pups. Lisa grins for the first time all day. Kyle lets out a breath he's been holding. But across the room, Mr. Carlson scowls, his authority threatened by hope he doesn't trust. Nothing leaves until I say so, not until I sign. And for Daisy and her pups, the clock keeps ticking, a silent race between hope and heartbreak. The shelter feels smaller as the minutes bleed away. Everyone waits, but no one is sure for what. Ben stands in the lobby with Carrie and Mark, hands restless, glancing at the clock every 30 seconds. Megan and Lisa work at their desks, eyes flicking between forms and the main entrance, listening for a phone that might not ring. Then, suddenly, the director's intercom crackles. It's County Animal Control, the final authority. Mr. Carlson's face tightens as he listens, jotting notes in short, impatient bursts. Megan's throat is dry as she watches him, knowing this call could kill every inch of hope in the room. Carlson hangs up and waves Megan over, his tone clipped. We have a problem. County says the paperwork doesn't match. Ben steps forward. What do you mean? We brought everything. Carlson holds up the forms, pointing to an address. County records list a different property owner. No match. They won't sign off until it's fixed. Carrie's face flushes. We just closed last month. The deed's new. They probably haven't updated the file. Carlson's voice is all business. Not my problem. They need the official record. County will not approve the transfer without it. For a moment, no one breathes. The hope that had started to fill the room cracks, letting in cold air. Ben pulls out his phone, scrolling through emails and screenshots, but nothing is official enough. Lisa looks at Megan, whispering, "We can stall a little, right?" Megan shakes her head. The schedule's tight. He'll push it if he can. Mark starts calling their lawyer, his voice tense and low. He's put on hold, staring at the spinning icon on his screen, trapped in the slow machinery of bureaucracy. Ben turns to Megan, voice raw. There's got to be something. Can we call the county? Talk to someone? She can't go back on the list. Not now. In the back, Daisy senses the mood shifting. Kyle sits by her kennel, offering water she barely touches. Her eyes are locked on the hallway. Her pups, too tired to cry, nestle under her chin. Kyle murmurs, "Hold on, girl, hold on." At the front desk, Carrie tries county records again, but the office is closed for lunch, recording a message, monotone, uncaring. Mark's lawyer finally answers, but can only promise to send a PDF copy by email, maybe in 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Carlson hovers by the door, watching the clock, ready to reclaim his control. If we don't get county approval by the top of the hour, I'll have to move forward. That's policy. Ben can see the whole thing unraveling. He runs a hand through his hair, desperate. Can you give us more time, just a little? Carlson shakes his head. You have 20 minutes. The energy in the shelter is frantic now. Megan stands by the copier, watching the slow crawl of paperwork, hoping for a miracle. Lisa checks and rechecks forms, frowning at every missing initial, every blank line. Out in the kennel, Daisy is suddenly restless, pacing the length of the cage, her movements sharp. The tension in her body infects her pups, who whine quietly as if sensing the danger. Kyle crouches beside her, voice steady but tired. Easy, Daisy. Easy. You're not done yet. Back in the lobby, Ben slams his fist gently on the counter, frustration boiling over. We're doing everything right. We're here. We brought proof. We want to help. There's got to be a way around this. Carrie grabs his hand, squeezing it hard. Don't let go. Not now. Megan steps forward, her voice low and direct. Sometimes they'll accept an affidavit, something signed, notarized, but it's a risk. Carlson could shut it down. Lisa overhears and grabs a blank affidavit form from the drawer. She slides it to Ben. Write it. Now. I'll witness. Ben scribbles his statement, hands shaking, eyes flicking from the form to Daisy's name on the board. Lisa signs, stamping the time and date. Megan carries the paper to Mr. Carlson. Sir, if you want to save time, sign here, and we'll fax it straight to county. If they approve, we're done. If not, you haven't lost anything. Carlson stares at the document, lips tight. For a long moment, he says nothing. The shelter hums with anxiety. Finally, he signs. Lisa hurries the affidavit to the fax machine, slamming the buttons, watching the pages crawl through. They wait. The phone is silent. The only sound is the click of Daisy's nails on concrete as she paces, the low, constant whine of her pups. Ben can't stop moving, pacing the lobby, checking his phone. Carrie sits, head in hands, shoulders shaking. Mark hovers by the fax, ready to call again. Time slows. Megan stands by the window, watching clouds drift across the July sky. She's never cared for paperwork, never believed rules could be bent. But today, she wants nothing more than to break everyone if it means Daisy and her pups get out. The phone finally rings. Lisa answers, holding her breath. The answer is not what anyone wanted. I'm sorry, Lisa says, her voice breaking as she hangs up. County won't approve. They need the updated deed. Until then, they won't process the transfer, no exceptions. Ben slumps against the wall, defeated. Carrie sobs quietly. Mark's fists clench, jaw set. In the back, Daisy lies down heavily, her body curling protectively around her puppies, the energy drained from the room. Mr. Carlson picks up the intake list. We have a schedule to keep. Megan looks up at him, something raw in her voice. Give us until the end of the day. That's all I ask. Carlson hesitates, his authority on the line, but the staff in the room, Megan, Lisa, Kyle, all stare back at him, silent and united. He sighs. End of the day, but not a minute more. Ben looks at the clock. 5 more hours, a lifetime, or nothing at all. The reversal is complete. Hope, once so close, now dangles by a thread of time and red tape. For Daisy and her pups, the future is more uncertain than ever. Mr. Carlson retreats to his office, the door clicking behind him like a warning. The glass is frosted, but everyone in the front lobby can see his silhouette, shoulders hunched, head bowed over a stack of files. For years, his rules have kept the shelter running, clean, organized, cold when it needs to be. He's the reason there's order here, even if it's a kind nobody really loves. Outside, Megan sits on the front bench, phone to her ear. County records? Yes, I need the new deed for... She waits, listening to the elevator music, fingers drumming the armrest. She feels the pressure building behind her eyes, a tension she can't shake. Lisa is in the staff room, watching Daisy on the grainy CCTV feed. She's not moving much, Lisa says quietly. Stress can kill a dog, even a strong one. Kyle sits across from her, hunched forward. Ben's good for it. You can see it. He cares. Lisa shrugs, not quite ready to believe. A lot of people say they care, but not everyone comes back. Still, her eyes stay fixed on the screen. Daisy's tail gives the smallest twitch, and Millie crawls under her belly, safe only as long as the waiting holds. Back inside, Ben's group is scattered. Carrie and Mark hover near the front desk, phoning the county and the title office, stuck in another bureaucratic loop. Ben stands by the window watching the cars on the street, replaying every step in his mind, what he could have said, what he should have brought. The lobby is tense, but under the surface, something new is taking root. The staff, so often silent and detached, find themselves quietly rooting for the family. They share glances, make calls, nudge paperwork forward just a bit faster. Carlson watches it all from his office, his eyes narrow, jaw working. He hears Megan's voice through the thin door. No, please, I need the file today, it's urgent. Carlson sighs, rubbing his temples. He knows what's at stake, but the shelter's reality is simple. Every animal is a number, every number a dollar sign or a liability. He's seen staff burn out, hearts break, money run dry. There's never enough help and always too much pain. His own file drawer is filled with letters, angry neighbors, budget warnings, lists of animals that couldn't be saved. He pulls out a picture, a faded Polaroid of a yellow lab, his own dog years ago. He ran this place differently then, before he learned that sentiment alone can't keep the lights on. But the sound outside his door, Ben's pleading, Carrie's determination, Megan's quiet insistence, grates against the shell he's built. Carlson stands, straightens his tie, and steps into the hallway. Megan looks up. Any news from county? He shakes his head. They're backed up. Won't guarantee anything before 5. Ben steps forward. Please, Mr. Carlson. This isn't about just one dog. She's a mother. Her pups. Carlson holds up a hand. You think I don't know that? He keeps his voice low, but the edge is gone. I've done this for 20 years. You want to save them? So do I. But there are rules, and if we break them, next week, this place is full, and I can't do anything for anyone. Lisa appears, holding a folder. Here are her shots, her spay record, every visit. There's not a mark against her. She's healthy. She's a good mom. Just look. She opens the file to a photo, a grainy shot of Daisy curled around her puppies. For a moment, even Carlson goes silent. Kyle leans in, voice steady. She fought for them, even when she was dumped. I found her. She wouldn't eat unless her pups were fed first. You know what that means. Carlson looks at Kyle. The two have clashed before, but there's no anger now, just exhaustion. In the pause, Carrie's phone buzzes. She answers, face lighting up. It's the county. They found the deed. They're emailing now. Mark grins, pounding Ben on the back. Let's get it printed. Carlson softens just a fraction. You get that deed, you bring it to me. I'll sign everything. But if it doesn't come through... Ben nods, voice rough. We understand. The lobby becomes a war room. Lisa runs to prep the files. Megan watches the inbox. Kyle checks Daisy, keeping her calm as the tension outside ramps up. Even Mr. Carlson, for all his rules, starts pacing, unable to sit still. He looks through the glass at Daisy's kennel, the mother dog's body curled protectively around her pups. There is something in her stillness, a quiet defiance, a refusal to give up. Carlson recognizes it. He's seen it in himself. Those nights the budget wouldn't balance, those mornings when another animal was left at the gate. He mutters to Megan, "You know, my first year here I lost sleep over every one of them. You try not to care, but you do. The trouble is, the more you care, the harder it is to make the call." Megan is quiet. Maybe that's not so bad, sir. He gives a short, rueful laugh. Maybe not. The office phone rings again. Carrie's contact at county. The deed is coming through as a scanned PDF. Mark runs to the printer, coaxing the old machine to life. Paper spits out, blurry but legible. Lisa brings the stack to Carlson. He reads it, slow and careful, then signs each line, initialing where required. You got what you need, he says, his voice almost gentle. Let's get them out before the rules catch up. Ben can't believe it, relief mixing with exhaustion. Megan hugs Carrie, the staff all letting out quiet sighs. Even Carlson smiles just a little, but as the group heads to Daisy's kennel, Lisa pauses. The county says she needs a final health check, protocol, and we need to make sure her microchip's registered. Carlson nods. We do it by the book, but this time the book's on your side. For a moment, the system bends, not out of weakness, but because behind the rules, people still remember why they came here in the first place. The printer still hums as Lisa pulls out the final page. She double-checks the deed, eyes narrowing at the signature, then nods. We're good, she tells Megan, who's already on her feet, moving with purpose. Ben stands a little taller, chest loosening for the first time all day. Even Mark and Carrie, usually calm under pressure, let out a quiet laugh, almost disbelieving. Kyle grabs the master key from the wall hook. Let's do this, he says, and Megan tosses him a grateful look. Carlson stands at the center of it all, arms crossed, but his face is softer. He's letting the momentum roll, not fighting it. They move through the hall in a loose pack, Ben at the front, Lisa clutching the folder of paperwork, Megan's eyes on the clock, ever watchful. Kyle unlocks Daisy's kennel. The metal squeaks and Daisy jumps, startled. She rises slowly, every muscle tight with uncertainty. Hey girl, Kyle whispers, crouching low. You ready? Daisy's tail wags, just once, tentative but real. She looks from Kyle to Ben and finally to her puppies. Millie and Scout stumble forward, bumping against Daisy's legs. Their world is changing, and they feel it. Megan kneels with the scanner. She waves the wand along Daisy's neck. The device beeps. Her microchip registers, numbers matching the files. She's clean, Megan says, relief in her voice. Lisa moves fast, checking eyes, teeth, paws. No signs of illness, no fleas. She's thin but otherwise healthy. Ben leans against the gate, every nerve waiting for the next obstacle, but Megan stands and looks him in the eye. You did it, she says quietly. She's yours. All three of them. He doesn't react at first. It takes a moment for the words to land. Then his face splits into a smile, worn, disbelieving, but true. Thank you, he says, voice rough. Carrie and Mark are already outside, prepping the crate in the truck bed. Lisa hands Ben a leash, new and sturdy. She'll need it for the drive. Be gentle. She's had enough rough hands for one lifetime. Ben kneels, clipping the leash to Daisy's collar. We're going home, he tells her. She meets his eyes, and something eases in her posture. She trusts him. Maybe not completely, but enough. As they walk through the main corridor, every head turns. The usual noise, barking, scraping, shouts, fades to a hush. Staff pause to watch. Volunteers step aside. This is what they hope for, even on the hardest days. A mother and her pups leaving together, not separated, not left behind. At the front desk, Megan hands Ben the adoption packet. There's a vet in town who'll do a follow-up exam for free. Just mention the shelter. He nods, words failing. Keep her inside for the first week, Lisa advises, smiling despite herself. Let her settle in. Give her time. Kyle crouches and rubs Millie's ear as she wriggles by his shoe. You take care of them, all right? Ben promises. I will, all of them. Carlson appears by the door, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. You got lucky, he tells Ben. Don't waste it. Ben doesn't flinch. I won't. I promise. Daisy steps through the shelter doors, blinking against the sunlight. Her paws touch grass for the first time in weeks. The air is sharp with summer, alive with smells she recognizes. Ben holds the leash loose, letting her set the pace. Millie and Scout trot behind, uncertain but curious. Carrie and Mark open the crate in the back of the truck. It's clean, lined with towels and water bowls, safe for the journey. Daisy sniffs the step, then hops in, turning in a circle until the pups crawl against her side. She looks out, meeting Ben's eyes again, calmer, almost content. Ben secures the door, heart pounding. "Ready?" Carrie grins. "Let's get them home." Inside, the shelter slowly comes back to life. Megan returns to her desk, answering the next intake call. Lisa checks on a new litter, routine settling back in. Kyle lingers at the window, watching the truck pull away. Even Carlson, hard edges and all, stands by the doorway a little longer than usual, staring after the family he almost lost to paperwork. For the first time that day, hope isn't just a possibility. It's present, alive, rolling down the driveway with three tails and a mother's tired eyes. But victory isn't total. In the back, another cage rattles. Another intake arrives. A thin dog, ribs sharp, eyes wild with fear. The work never ends, and everyone knows it. But for now, for Daisy and her pups, there is a new world opening, and the people who made it happen feel the weight lift just for a moment. Ben drives slow, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching back to let Daisy sniff his fingers through the crate bars. She licks him once, hesitant, a thank you too small for the moment. At a stoplight, Mark turns. Think she knows she's safe? Ben nods, watching Daisy curl tighter around her pups. Not yet, but she will. As the city gives way to highway and the shelter shrinks in the rearview mirror, Ben allows himself to breathe. There will be challenges, settling Daisy in, earning her trust, introducing her to a real home. But they have a chance now, more than before. In that hour, nothing feels impossible. The truck rolls out of town and for a few miles, nobody speaks. Ben watches the rearview, heart hammering, half expecting a call from the shelter telling him to turn back, some technicality or last-minute disaster. Carrie sits beside him, hands tight in her lap, Mark quietly texting the vet to expect their arrival. In the crate, Daisy is silent. She keeps her body curled around Millie and Scout, but her eyes never close. Every jolt, every turn in the road makes her tense. She's outside the shelter, but not free yet. Her world has always changed without warning. They reach the edge of the property, 10 acres, a fence line, a faded red barn at the back. Carrie hops out to open the gate. Ben coaxes the crate out, talking soft and steady. "You're home, Daisy, come on, girl." The yard is alive with smells, fresh grass, dirt, old hay, the kind of quiet that isn't empty but full of promise. Daisy sniffs the air, hesitates. For a long minute she doesn't move, even when the door swings wide. Ben doesn't rush her. Millie pokes her head out first. She tumbles onto the grass, sniffs Ben's shoe, then yelps at a butterfly. Scout follows, wobbly and close to his mother. Daisy's ears twitch. She steps out slow and stiff, head low, tail between her legs. Every inch of her says, ready to run, but she doesn't. Not this time. Ben kneels a few feet away, open-palmed. "No more cages, Daisy, not here." He doesn't reach for her. He just waits, breathing slow, letting her decide. It takes a while, but Daisy moves forward. Not bold, cautious, ears back, but she closes the gap. She bumps Ben's hand, then licks his knuckles once. He exhales, the tension in his shoulders finally breaking. Inside the house, Carrie sets out food and water, blankets in a laundry basket. Mark opens the back door and stands aside. "All yours, guys." The puppies barrel in, sliding on the hardwood, skidding into a pile of toys. Daisy lingers at the threshold, unsure. The world is too big now. She stands in the doorway, taking it all in. Ben doesn't call her. He just leaves the door open. Eventually, Daisy steps inside, nose to the floor, tail starting to rise just a little. Millie and Scout tumble after her. The house smells strange, but not dangerous. Daisy circles the living room, then settles by the sliding glass door, keeping her pups close. But settling in isn't easy. The first night is hard. Daisy startles at every sound, the fridge kicking on, a truck on the road, a tree branch tapping the window. Ben sits on the floor, not too close, letting her know he's there. "You're safe, Daisy, I promise." The puppies sleep against her belly, but Daisy keeps watch, eyes never closing all the way. Carrie drapes a blanket over Ben's shoulders at midnight, whispering, "She'll relax, just give her time." Morning comes with a pink sun and dew on the grass. Ben wakes to the sound of paws on wood. Daisy paces the kitchen, nervous, searching for the door. Ben opens it and she bolts into the yard, scanning the fence, nose to the wind. The pups chase after her, awkward and loud. Ben walks out with the mug in hand. He watches Daisy sniff every post, every shadow, never letting her pups out of sight. After a while she stops, sits down, and looks back at Ben, chest heaving, but eyes softer. He drops to a knee. See? No more walls. No one's coming for you. You're home. Daisy stands, tail lifting, and for the first time she shakes off the fear, running a circle around the yard. The puppies bark and leap. Ben laughs, the sound surprising him. A release, the sound of tension breaking. But even as Daisy finds her feet, there are challenges. She panics at the leash for walks, shies from sudden touches, barks at new people. The vet visit is a trial. Daisy freezes on the table, eyes wide, and the tech has to coax her through every step. But Ben doesn't rush. He holds her leash, talks low and steady. It's all right, Daisy. I'm here. The vet, Dr. Larkin, checks her over. She's tough, he tells Ben, but she's scared. You're going to need patience. I have time, Ben says. He means it. The days pass in small victories. Daisy learns the yard is safe, the house is quiet, the food keeps coming. Millie and Scout grow bold, chasing each other down the hall. At night, Daisy starts to relax. Her eyes close, her body stretches out, the pups tucked tight against her side. One afternoon, a delivery truck rumbles up the drive. Daisy jumps to her feet, barking, body rigid. Ben steps between her and the door, hand out. It's just a delivery, Daisy. No one's here to take you. She watches, shaking, but doesn't run. Later, Ben finds her in the laundry room, hiding behind the dryer. He sits on the floor, quiet. After a while, Daisy comes out, tail down, and leans against his side. The final test comes a week later. The shelter calls, Megan checking in. How's she doing? She's scared, but better, Ben says. She lets me pet her now. She sleeps, eats, watches her pups. Megan's voice is soft. Sometimes that's all you can ask for. But Carlson is on the line too. Ben, listen. There's a spot check coming from Animal Control. County wants proof she's safe. They'll be by this afternoon. Ben feels his chest tighten, old fears flaring up. We're ready, he says, but he isn't sure. He spends the next hour cleaning, gathering records, taking pictures of Daisy and her pups. When the white van pulls up, Ben is waiting at the gate, papers in hand. The county officer walks the yard, checks the fence, meets Daisy, who barks once, then hides behind Ben. The officer nods, satisfied, signs a final form. She's lucky, the officer says, handing Ben the paperwork. Ben looks down at Daisy, hand resting on her head. I am too. The moment is quiet, not dramatic. There's no speech, no applause. But in the calm, in Daisy's slow blink, the story is written. Survival, trust, and the quiet courage to start again. That night, as the house falls quiet, Daisy curls beside her pups, her eyes closing, truly closing for the first time. Ben watches her sleep, the weight of the past slipping away, replaced by something better, the hard-earned peace of a new life. The days roll forward, each one softer than the last. Daisy learns the sounds of home, the creak of the back door, the whir of the washing machine, the scratch of Millie's claws on the wood. Scout, the quieter pup, finds a favorite spot under the dining table. For the first time, the world is bigger than a cage, and none of them are in a hurry. Ben keeps to a steady rhythm. Mornings in the yard, coffee in hand, Daisy and her pup sniffing the fence line, tails up. He works from the kitchen table, pausing to check on the trio in the living room. He sets rules, no food on the couch, walks after sunset, slow introductions to new people. Daisy watches every move, still cautious but less afraid with each sunrise. Carrie stops by most evenings. She brings treats, sits quietly on the porch, and lets Daisy decide how close is close enough. One night, as the sun drops behind the barn, Daisy finally lays her head on Carrie's knee. Carrie grins, tears starting in her eyes. "You got her," she whispers to Ben. He just smiles, knowing what it cost. Scout and Millie grow fast. They tumble through the grass, chase each other in wild circles, sleep tangled in Daisy's fur. Ben takes photos, first at a distance, then closer, until Daisy finally lets him scratch behind her ears, just for a second. Each picture tells the truth. Nothing easy, nothing perfect, but progress every day. A week after the county visit, Megan drives out from the shelter. She parks at the end of the long drive, gets out slow, not wanting to startle anyone. Ben waves her up. Daisy barks once, runs to the porch, but stops short of hiding. Millie and Scout cluster at her side. Megan squats down, hands open, letting Daisy approach if she wants. "You look good, girl," she says softly. "Better than I've ever seen you." Daisy doesn't move, but she doesn't turn away either. Ben walks Megan around the yard, shows her the toys, the shaded spots where Daisy likes to nap. She eats. She plays. She'll let me brush her sometimes. That's new. Megan listens, writing notes in a small book. "You did everything right. She'll never be the same as before, but that's not the goal, is it?" "No," Ben says. "I just want her to know she's safe." Inside, Megan sips coffee and watches Daisy watch her. "Scout and Millie are lucky," she says, nodding at the pups asleep in a patch of sun. Ben shrugs. "They all are." Megan stands to leave, pressing her card into Ben's hand. "If you ever need anything, food, vet help, advice, call. We remember the ones who make it out." That night, Ben sits on the back step, the yard fading into dusk. Daisy settles beside him, not touching but close enough to feel her warmth. Fireflies rise from the grass, and the old barn glows in the last of the light. He looks down at Daisy and sees a dog finally at rest. Back at the shelter, Megan updates Daisy's file. Adopted. Home visit successful. Family committed. She posts a photo of Daisy and her pups to the break room wall, just above the intake board. Lisa catches her eye, smiles. "We did good," she says. Megan just nods, knowing there's another intake coming in the morning, another story that won't end this way. But for tonight, it's enough. Carlson finds the picture on his way out. He stands for a long minute, taking in the image of Daisy in the sun. "Not bad," he murmurs, almost to himself. For the first time in months, he leaves the shelter without the weight settling into his bones. Out at the farm, the season turns. Millie and Scout lose their puppy awkwardness, running stronger and faster each day. Daisy lets Ben scratch her ears more often now, and sometimes just before dawn, she nudges his hand for attention. There are hard days, nights when Daisy still paces, storms that send her under the bed, loud cars that bring the old fear rushing back. But the good days outweigh the bad. On the porch in the sunlight, Daisy lies with her pups and sleeps deep, her legs twitching as she dreams. Ben thinks of all the things that could have gone wrong. He knows they almost did. But in every routine, feeding, walks, quiet evenings, he sees what patience can do. Safety isn't a miracle. It's built day by day from the ground up. The story ends without fanfare. Just a dog and her family, a place that smells like hope instead of bleach, and a group of people who refuse to look away. There are still hard choices ahead, always another animal in need, another fight with the rules, another long drive in the night. But for Daisy and her pups, for Ben and everyone who helped, there is peace in the ordinary, proof that sometimes survival is enough. As the sky fades and the porch lights flicker on, Ben sits beside Daisy watching the horizon. She lifts her head and for the first time, her tail thumps twice on the boards, soft but certain. Thanks for making it this far. But don't leave yet. On the screen next to you, there's another exciting story. Click subscribe to the channel and share. I'll be waiting for you there.